late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here, too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio.
Sackheads Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR.
Always works best if you talk into it.
Yeah, I know. That's how these
I've used that line before.
Yeah. Yeah, you have.
Yeah, trust me, it's a microphone.
Now, that's actually fucking funny.
It's pretty true.
Well, it's actually worked.
Right.
Sean may have been present.
I'm not saying it hasn't worked.
On Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in studio, Sean. Good, have another sip.
Take a step back for the mic, pal.
Speak into the mic.
Yeah, no kidding.
Are you sure?
That's what. Turn your friggin' headphones down. Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Versus
it's not the headphones I'm worried about there, son. Gosh. Man, you're like screaming tonight. How much coffee did you have?
Not enough.
Welcome to the Sackheads Radio Show. It is November the 15th, 2017. We are live on the SHR Media Network, YouTube, Facebook, and Clint is nailing it. So we'll just go to this while he makes the adjustment.
What's the matter?
Dear
Perfect.
Lord.
That's absolutely perfect.
Yeah,
I'm loving the crap out of that. That's wonderful.
Unbelievable. Over to the left is your camera technological production engineer specialist, Sackhead Clint, who is making his adjustments as we speak.
All right, try that.
Okay. And he's back,
this,
ladies and gentlemen.
At this point, he should be holding up the T-shirt, right?
Right.
Hang on. Fucking technology.
No kidding.
It is just out of control.
Because if that is not a perfect example, I really don't know what the hell is.
No, absolutely. There we go. It nails it. Of course, to my right is the one and only bloviating Zeppelin.
Hi, kids.
Very nice to see you, sir. I enjoy the Barrett hat. I'm a fan of Barrett.
Nice to be seen.
It's always nice to see that. And Clint's got a sweatshirt on. So, anyhow.
I've got a sweatshirt on. I got a jacket on. Should I jack it off real quick?
Can you jack it off right here in front of everybody, please?
Yeah, I'm going to leave it on for a little bit.
And then jack it off when you get too hot.
I'll jack it off when I get hot.
When you get hot, you jack it off as much as you want.
I know, that's true.
So we do have...
My jacket is off.
If you're listening or watching.
It is.
We do know of the domain issue at shrmedia.com. We are using our Facebook page. The first post you see that is on Facebook right now, we'll use for... Or, I'm sorry, the live...
Look, there we are.
The live feed.
What's the domain page?
Don't worry about it, Clint.
Okay.
Facebook.com/SHR Media Group.
Yes. And that is going to be, and I'm going to update the web stream as well to match that. But that's where you're going to go for that. And
Facebook. Isn't that a mug book?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
From many, many years ago.
Oh.
Long time ago.
So then is Facebook a racist company because it's like they think everybody is just like a criminal?
That's right. Because you got a mug.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, the issue with SHR Media being down, if you go to shrmedia.com, you're not going to find anything right there. But there is a backdoor method.
Whoa, there is. I've done
to
it
get
once
in.
or twice.
No. Just we actually want people to listen. So
there
give
is
them this
a way.
one.
Hang on, what are we talking about?
To get into the chat room, and there is a way to listen on Spreaker if you don't feel like watching and interacting in chat in Facebook. Then you can go to the alternate universe SHR Media site, which is Sackheads Radio Media.
Right.
All one word. Sackheadsradiomedia.blogspot.com.
So
I know that's long.
Jesus, are you kidding me?
And I'll say it again for those of you who just tuned in.
He is not kidding you.
The alternate to get into chat and to listen to us on Spreaker is Sackheads Radio Media, all one word, .blogspot.com. Odd, but true, and you can get there because I'm there right now. If I can get there,
Anybody can.
anybody
That's not true.
can get there.
That's not. I need to try and
You
get
don't.
there.
You. I wish I could tell you that you counted in this regard.
If I tried to get there, then anybody could get there. I don't want to get jammed up advertising. Okay. So if
I'm watching on the Facebook page. There we are on the Facebook. Now you'll see the regular SHR Media page. It looks exactly the same
So if
because
I can
it
get
is
there,
the same.
If I can get there, anybody can get there.
If you can get there,
I'm
anybody
there.
can get there.
Wow.
I'm there.
And then from there, all you do is hit live chat,
Hang on, live chat. Okay.
and then boom, there you are on the chat page.
Well, okay.
And here's another
I'm
thing.
supposed to have
We have already two people in chat who did it this way and got in there. We have one viewer who's in there,
Right.
and we have White Mamba. So White Mamba figured it out, and one viewer figured it out. God bless you. Thank you.
Hey, I am absolutely impressed by everything. The fact that people are getting there while I'm trying to update this is pretty awesome.
See, I'm not impressed because I think we have a very smart listenership. Not very smart. Technology. It's a friggin' suction cup camera.
This is great. I am loving
hold
the
like
hell
this.
out of this. This is very good.
If this doesn't sum it up like really quick,
This is, I'll tell you what, with
It's
our
a friggin'
bombast,
suction cup,
with
Matt.
our bombast internet going down,
right?
and then the website going down, that over there is so typical of what we've been experiencing these days. I mean, it's
I got bad news for you. They don't.
not expect that something bad
No.
might happen.
Nothing
Look,
bad can ever happen
and-
because it made them feel good.
And I'm not blaming the headhunters because they're staying
No, that's their
hidden.
job. It's in their
Right?
contract.
Right. They're staying. It's not like the headhunters are going to the
No,
village.
it's right after the preface, page 1 after the preface.
It's not like the headhunters are going to the village and killing like random people. They're not drag 'em in the bushes kind of guys.
Right, exactly.
Right? They're pretty much, you know what they're about.
Yeah, you can.
Listen,
see.
if he went searching for used car dealers and found headhunters, right? You'd be like, "Oh,
That's a
that's a
story.
shame.
That's a
a
story."
story, right?
Right.
It wasn't
Yes.
anywhere close to what we thought was going to happen.
Yes.
But when you turn around, you're like, "Hey, I'm looking for headhunters." Hey, Bill disappeared. What assignment was he on again? The headhunter one. Oh, fucking shocking. Find someone to fill his desk.
Right.
I'm sorry. I know that may be a little.
Now, I do have a little bit
Harsh?
of comic. I knew I have a little bit of comic relief in addition to the levity we have brought to said story. Headhunters is actually a bar in Sacramento.
I knew you were going to go here.
Really?
And-
Where is it?
and
I
it
did
is-
not know.
It is in a district known as Lavender Heights.
Yes.
Whatever do you mean?
It is a gay bar. And I don't mean gay in the traditional happy sense of the word. I mean it in the homosexual sense of the word.
Well, it's not to suggest
Okay.
that they're not also happy.
No,
'Cause we
right.
don't know that for
They're
sure.
also- but headhunters has a completely different connotation in that district.
Yes.
Come to find out.
Yeah.
So if somebody is going to look for headhunters in downtown Sacramento,
There's an excellent chance you'd find them.
excellent chance you would find them, and you would probably survive that encounter.
Yes.
Right?
With the big, I know you're heading to this. There's a big caveat coming.
I don't know about how big their caveats are, and the fact that they're coming is kind of dirty given this topic, BZ.
Hey now.
Look, I'm not the one that said it, Sean. But different story, right? Different. I had to bring that up.
I
By the
think
way,
it's-
what do you
it's
think
valid.
about the Stinselli quote? That was pretty amazing. I'm not gonna lie. Do you
No,
remember that quote?
Oh hell yeah, he's
all of the time.
I had lunch with Carl probably a month and a half ago.
Okay,
Yeah, and he's looking really good.
good for
Damn
him.
him.
Bastard.
I know.
Yeah, that was his
Carl?
that was his trademark
Yeah, it
catchphrase.
was. Carl, if you're listening,
Yeah.
what did you do with all the weight, dude? You gave it to me. Thank you very much.
I was just, hey, you know what? Giving is like one of those things that we think is most important at the Sackheads Radio Show, and
Yes,
he did
we're
that.
all about. And is it not the season for?
Giving.
Thank you.
Giving. It is the season for giving. And it's also 8:15. It's time to get going, kids.
So did you guys hear about this yet?
I'm down for that. I want to hear it. I do.
So I read this story.
Did you guys hear about this shit?
No, that's not.
This is actually.
That's how you.
Fucking camera.
I'll come fix it. Jeez.
Jesus criminy.
Fix everything here.
This is great. I absolutely. Folks, I got to
Good.
tell you, this is why you listen and watch, especially that watch part, to the SH, to the Sackheads radio show. For stuff like
All right,
that.
thank you. If that falls,
Don't play with it. Jeez.
buy a dollar every time I said that
What is
too.
wrong with
And
you?
again-
I just fixed it.
Thanks to Mike,
You're like a little friggin' kid. I'm just. gonna
thanks to
Google with it
Mary,
now.
thanks to Dave, and thanks to Mamba and one viewer for navigating your way in here. And we really appreciate the time that you took to find the,
right,
the
now that-
alternate way to get into the chat room and into SHR Media.
Now
So
that,
thank you.
Now that you found us, those of you in the chat room, did you guys hear about this yet? So, I read this article and my mind. I don't know if this is going to kind of blow your guys' mind like it kind of blew my mind. But I actually spent several days pondering this.
Okay.
Wow.
And I actually really wanted to call you guys,
Oh,
I
no.
would have picked up.
but I know you would have, but and just talk about this with you guys. Like, this isn't going to be actually a funny story or anything. So if you're expecting that, I'm just going to apologize. It's
Okay.
it's going to be like a letdown.
Well, I'm out.
Like a lot of women in my life. So what?
No, it's true.
No, not my wife. She's awesome. Box wine is freaking phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So
You know what? Just go before I start and it gets ugly.
it's gonna. You know what? This is actually better than what I got.
No, go. I was starting on you, pal.
We're going to you next.
We'll make our way around the room. Stop.
So, no, I actually wanted to call you guys and talk, but I actually wanted to kind of get your reaction on air. You probably heard about this, but so CIA had some declassified documents, right? They had some documents. This is not in regards to the JFK.
Oh, okay.
But one of the documents that was dumped came from the CIA, and
Dumped.
I was letting that one go.
and dumped it. Look it up in the
I
dictionary.
like it. No,
From
I
the-
like it.
Yeah, from the Latin root word jalapeno, meaning to let shit go.
Exactly.
And so there was a former SS soldier that they were meeting with down in Colombia.
Yeah. I
And this intelligence was so important to them that they actually forwarded it up through Washington and so forth, along with a photograph. And this informant was reliable. He was considered to be a reliable informant, and the former SS officer was considered to be reliable as well. And this former SS officer said that Hitler, Adolf Hitler, was alive.
Yep.
And
What?
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
was
Hold on.
alive in Argentina.
PZ, you didn't hear this.
No, I did not.
Let him
Yeah,
finish.
yeah,
Let him
I
finish.
did not.
So he was alive in Argentina, and that the two had actually met in Colombia several times, and he had a photograph taken with Adolf Hitler, and the photograph was attached to the CIA case file. So
Look at the look.
look at the look on BZ's
BZ's
face. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, so this is why I wanted to bring this to your guys' attention, right? And actually discuss this on air. So let's ponder this. We know that there were high-level SS and Nazi officials that were found several years after the war, right?
Correct.
Many of them in South America, particularly Argentina.
Argentina was a hotbed
Right.
of Nazi activity.
I mean, yeah, and weird stuff there, right? Like the big, not castle, but the fortress or whatever on that one river was dredged deep enough for submarines to come in, and like weird shit. There's Nazi populations
that TV
down
series, Finding Hitler, I think it was called. That was fascinating.
So look, the Russians buried him, supposedly what was supposed to be Hitler, in an unmarked
and
grave
buried.
somewhere, right?
Burned and buried,
buried.
yep.
Yet there is a picture with Hitler supposedly lying down at the Russians' feet, but there are reports.
Burned though.
No, I think the original picture is one that wasn't, but there were reports that was a Hitler body double because there were several body
There were
doubles.
several, and that's confirmed.
That's actually
That's
confirmed.
been
Yeah, he had
confirmed
several
through history,
body
yep.
doubles, and that the body double is who committed suicide and potentially escaped. So this report, or Argentina is the country. This report kind of verifies the informant was Philip Citron.
Like the car?
Yeah, Citroen.
Yeah.
Yep. And so on the second page of this report is a photograph with this guy, and another individual that he purports to be
Adolf Hitler.
Adolf Hitler.
Okay, are you on the UK Daily Mail?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so I had heard this story.
Okay.
So, and while BZ kind of catches up, because I know he's going to do a little bit of research on his end too, I think he's probably looking for the picture of the guy attached.
Well, hang on, real quick, Sean. Before you, so when this former SS officer Citron was telling this story, he told the informant who CIA was working with, and again, a reliable informant, almost it seemed like confidentially, hey, Adolf Hitler is still alive.
Right. No, so I've read this whole story.
Yes. Okay.
I have two.
Dude, I so wanted to call you. I
have
wanted
two
to
trains
call
of
you.
thought on this. I have the if he did and if he didn't. If he did somehow escape, you have to remember.
Which could have easily been done.
You look at how long did Saddam Hussein, if it wasn't for modern technology, would have escaped Iraq with using body doubles.
Yeah.
And we know that.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for modern technology and he knew he'd get pinched walking around in any other country around them rather. So that's why he hid in the spider hole.
Mm-hmm.
But escape was there on his mind. We know that. We've seen other people disappear as well. And BZ has the picture up on shrmedia.com, or the Facebook page rather. So I also know that in the 60s and 70s, the Israelis did some massive Nazi hunting down in South America. Two trains of thought that branched from that. If they did catch him, it would be an international incident. But where was a lot of the funding coming from Israel at that point? It was coming from us and the United Nations,
I think if they found him, they would have
perhaps
that would have been all public.
Perhaps, but you're also in the middle of a Cold War with Russia, who claimed they killed him, and now you're going to be able to come out and say, "Hey, they didn't," and it changes the whole perplexity. And we were already in a balancing act, right? We're not talking about bragging rights. You're talking about the stability of the world in a nuclear arms race in some ways. Possible. However, I think odds are that he did not escape. Mm-hmm. Even if he died in a field somewhere and nobody ever knew who he was, right? Or if maybe he did grow old elsewhere. Because if all the Nazis were going to Argentina, I'm not saying Hitler was a smart man, but if all the Nazis are going to Argentina, why would you go with them where you know they're going to be looking for you?
Because Argentina, who knows where he went after that, right?
That's what I mean.
But Argentina was very, very sympathetic to the Nazi cause.
They were.
So even though they were supposedly neutral, right?
Right.
So when you had the hunters, and I don't know if all of them were found in Argentina. They were found all over the world, but Israel was
South
hunting
America
them.
was a big hotbed for them.
But Argentina was not cooperating.
Right.
And if they were sympathetic to Hitler, they could have.
Mossad did not care about them not cooperating.
Not at all.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Not at all. But the fact that this made an intelligence report and didn't just make an intelligence report that was like,
crazy.
Right.
That's
but
crazy.
was deemed credible enough and the picture matched enough to forward on to Washington, D.C. and to be classified for all of this time.
All of this time, right? So if they were able to disprove it,
yes,
it would have been released much sooner. And it would have been released with a bunch of documents you never would have heard of, and it would have taken some internet nerd to dig it up and find it.
And here's the other thing. A German court didn't declare Adolf Hitler dead until 1956.
This is true.
So,
but I think there was a whole bunch of reasons why that happened that way.
Yes. Is it possible? It is absolutely possible, but it's interesting to even just think about this possibility, right? And you look at kind of the network that the German government, the Nazis, had in Argentina, and the framework it is reasonable to say that it's possible that Adolf Hitler escaped. It's a possibility,
right?
And I'll tell you, until somebody produces that body, and why would the Russians bury his body in an unmarked grave, like burned unmarked grave?
Yeah, I don't understand that either. Look, especially
Because they wanted to be the ones to catch him.
Yeah, but if you're right, so if you're doing it for propaganda and you can't confirm or deny, but you want to be able to throw something up and out and be like, hey, look, we got Hitler. He's dead. Killed him. Russians did it. Look at us. Pat on the back.
Yep. So we burned him and just and buried him. He doesn't deserve anything more than that.
Well, something that you could relate to in terms of that is there are photographs all through World War II of Mussolini having been hanged. That photograph, you can find it all day long on the internet. Once they killed Mussolini, they hung him. Or, excuse me, they hung him and then he died. He didn't die before he was hung.
Right.
In any event, you could have done, and I would have thought that it would make an excellent propaganda move.
To do the same with Hitler.
Why wouldn't you find Hitler's body before you burned it?
Well, and when you're the Russians trying to
Hang
using intimidation to try to get the German people to bow to you, which is what they had to do.
But why would you burn it beyond recognition?
Why would you not drag him through the streets by his hand? Let everyone see that you caught him. Beat him up. Let the Jews beat him up because there was listen, as much as Russia was communist, there was a lot of Jewish people in the Soviet Union and Russia who would have absolutely wailed on him.
Yeah, oh yeah. Look, Adolf Eichmann,
the
planner of the Holocaust, was found in Argentina.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of big
and who
name
was
Nazis
the
were.
other guy was found in Brazil.
Mengele.
Mengele.
Yep.
Was found in Brazil.
No, a lot of them made it out. A lot of them made it out before the Russians hit the city.
So if
Berlin.
those two high level, they were high level Reich folks. So if they were that high level folks, you really think that Adolf Hitler didn't try and make it out?
Well,
I mean, look, Hitler put.
But he was also. I mean, so it depends on which what you're talking about. Because if you read some of the history books, he was so convinced they were going to be able to come up and fight back.
I think he knew the gig was up.
Okay, you think that, but there's no proof to the contrary. There's a lot of proof saying that he did believe that they were going to be able to fight back from Berlin, make a stronghold, and push back out again. Now, he was also crazy or believed to be crazy. Again, none of that was confirmed either because we don't have blood, DNA, or any other way to know.
But he did have syphilis.
Allegedly. Right?
Right. I think his doctors confirmed that. They found.
So the Nazi doctors that did everything they wanted him to do is going to confirm that to try to prove that that's why he did it versus that
they
he was just a
suspect
mad
he had
guy.
onset ALS or Parkinson's.
Of course,
and he was a druggie of the nth
well,
degree.
that part I will
his
put more
doctor
credence
was
to.
Pumping him full of drugs.
That part I'll put more credence to, but a whole bunch of doctors saying, hey, here's the reason he was a bad guy. Well, if you knew that, why didn't you tell everyone and have him removed from office before you killed everybody? Well, yeah.
Because he was a cult following and they would have been killed.
But exactly. But afterwards, to try to save face as a medical professional and say, well, you know, he had these issues and it's just my job to treat him as that. And if you're that guy trying to save yourself, of course you're going to say everything horrible you can about Hitler. We all do. I'm just saying, I don't know how many of those Nazis I believe that testified about anything because they're all trying to save their own ass at that point. All of them were. And it's easy to go after the biology of a man who's been allegedly burned and buried, and you don't have DNA testing in the day.
Well, or if you know he got out, right?
Right. Well, so that's the other thing, right? You stay with the conversation and you go from there. You stay with that conversation. Nope, he was dead. Saw him. I saw them kill himself, but especially if they're true believers. I guess that's what you would do. I mean, there's so much conjecture and possibilities in this because the Russians didn't document anything, which is absolutely insane to me. And you have to ask yourself why. Hey, for all we know, Hitler lived in the Kremlin for the last 50 years of his life and was quietly cremated, and he was a prisoner of war or a personal statue for whoever. Right? I mean, who knows? The Russians were batshit crazy too.
Hey, good point.
Stalin could have had him walking around in a jester or a gimp outfit, you know, throwing rocks at him every single day, a hooker.
Bring in the gimp.
Bring in the gimp. But so you don't know, right? Because there's no articulate documentation as to the demise of one of the biggest monsters to ever walk the face of the earth, responsible for the death of millions, launched an entire war. And there's no real death record about it.
No.
You
No,
know all
nothing.
about Mussolini,
I
like
could,
you said.
I could understand. I can understand why they'd have Ava Braun kill herself. Right, very, very recognizable, particularly the two of them together.
Right. And, right, so you're trying to separate them. Even if she didn't know he wasn't going to, you go first, sweetheart. I want to make sure that you're dead so they don't hurt you. Good, she's dead, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's compassionate almost if you're a crazy person, right? That's almost like an ideal of compassion. Like, I love her. I don't want her to be tortured and caught.
No, I think it's more of a we'd get caught together, so here you go.
And who knows, right? I mean,
could you imagine what the Russians would have done with a living Ava Braun?
No, because we know what they did to living Germans who did nothing wrong for the most part, lived in the countryside and tried to avoid the whole damn thing because those people were out there and they were crucified and a whole bunch of other horrific things by the Russian soldiers. We're up against a break. Clint, thank you for that topic.
You're welcome.
That was fascinating, and I didn't know about it.
It was really a fun one.
Mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished. We'll be back here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Stick around.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show, also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reverb Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reverb Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
We're back here on the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us. It is the 15th November 2017. Kicking ass and taking names here at the world headquarters for SHR Media right here in Sacramento.
KATN.
That's right. Kicking ass,
We're
taking names. Hey, Roy Moore.
I was just, get out of my head. I was going to say the same thing. Roy Moore, ruh-roh.
You want to talk about the ultimate grenade with the pin pulled, throwing it around, and who's going to catch it? That's where this is at right now. So, BZ, it's your topic. Take it away. Just
astounding. I spoke on Ken's show and then on my show last night about this. It's going all sorts of different directions at this point. Let me state up front that obviously, it may not be obvious, but I don't have any dog in this Roy Moore hunt. I've never been to Alabama. I don't really know much about Roy Moore. I know he's sort of a rabble-rouser. He got involved with the Ten Commandments. If you really wanted to take a pot shot at Roy Moore, you could have done so, I don't know, whenever that Ten Commandment thing was going on about 5 or 6 years ago. And the timing of this, to me, stinks. And trotting it out in the public domain and convicting him in public stinks to me. However, that said, if it's found true, like I said, if they go after him civilly, criminally, I don't think you're going to have a hat to hang on. Because the statute of, well, maybe I shouldn't say that. I don't know what the statute of limitations in Alabama are, or whatever state it was where this allegedly occurred. So I shouldn't even say that, because the statute of limitations on that kind of a felony may be open. It may be endless. There are no statute. There is no statute of that. Now, having said that, the timing stinks to me.
Horrific. Yep, I agree.
If you had really wanted to sink this guy, then he handed himself over to you and gave you a golden opportunity to do so when everybody was gunning for him for the commandment thing, and you could have shot him down then. And now that he's in a potential position of really large amounts of power, as a senator, only 2 people from Alabama, and he'd be 50% of the Senate representation from Alabama. Now the stench kind of comes my way. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, I can understand why women would wait. It literally was 38 years before they decided that they were going to go public. So one of the bigger questions was, are they doing this because everybody else came out with regard to Weinstein, and everybody else came out with regard to Spacey, and Hollywood is going down in flames, and why the hell not shoot DC down in flames?
You do add
as
to that,
well.
If it did happen, it happened during a time when those sort of reports were not taken seriously because of the time and place. It was somewhat acceptable. Even if it was not legal, it was somewhat acceptable. You do have to immediately say the timing, right? Hey, look when it comes to prosecuting somebody in public forum, we've done it here on this show for the most part. And it's been happening for years, right? But
I think we've been pretty fair with people on this show.
For the most part. But
for the most part, we'll say, hey,
definitely both sides have done it ad nauseum, right?
Yes, but on this show, I think we've done a good job about, hey, we don't know the facts, but here's what we think.
I'm pretty sure I recall myself saying Hillary Clinton should be in jail right now. So, me personally then, and let me change the camera angle, I apologize. Me personally then, all right, so I've been guilty of it. How's that? That's probably a much better.
Yeah, but that was based on some kind of evidence or something, and some reports and stuff that we're getting. That's not 38 years later.
So here's how I look at all of this, though, right? If you're law enforcement, depending on statutes of limitations, then yes, every single victim you must take serious. You have to. You have to do a proper investigation, and they should be taken serious and heard. I absolutely 100% agree with that. Nobody, no female, male, child, or adult should be victimized in that way, shape, or form ever in their life whatsoever.
100%.
However, as BZ just said,
exactly,
the timing does draw questions. Now, you throw that with, like you said, Weinstein. You have all these other people coming forward. You now have a platform. And maybe this woman did hold it for 38 years. Victims do things that you can't, outside of their mind, understand because they think they're protecting themselves.
And there are 4 or 5 women now.
Right.
But I having done the investigations on things like this before, that was one of the things that I did. The thing that stands out to me that I haven't heard anyone mention yet is when you have an individual who has a pattern or a tendency like this, they tend to be systemic. In other words, he was doing this when he was, I don't know, what was it, 32, 36?
Early 30s,
something
yeah.
like that. And if I'm remembering correctly, he was a district attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And the girls were, I don't know, 14?
Allegedly.
14, 15, 16, right around in there.
Yep.
Okay. The first question that comes to mind if I was going to be an investigator looking at this particular case, if you gave it to me and said, bonk, BZ, this is a case, go and do. Find where the evidence, wherever it leads you, find. The first question I would have is, all right, we have evidence of him doing this and a massive age range. Now, abusers are age rangist, meaning that they tend to like that particular range and that range only. In other words, in child abuse, I discovered that there are men out there that only want to abuse infants.
Right.
Literally infants.
Right.
And then men may have a range from 5 or 6. After you get to be 6, they have no interest in you anymore. So we can kind of know that this is sort of the thing that he does. That's my first thought. My second thought is find me and go investigate the newest, most recent occurrences where he's continued this. And I haven't heard anything in terms of he did some of these things. These allegations ranged 38 years ago with apparently girls 14. I'm guessing 14 to 16 years old, and then he stopped.
Right.
That's not the pattern that I've experienced historically.
Well, and
why
especially
did he
because
stop?
he's gained more power and probably more opportunity as time had gone on to victimize other people. Right? All of a sudden, you're a judge.
Now,
in a lot of courthouses, nobody's questioning you about anything. Hey, do me a favor, bring that person into my chambers. I need to speak with them. Okay, Your Honor.
Now, if we had a number of women as girls coming out, this would have occurred in the 70s, right? Is when it occurred. Now, if you had women coming out as girls saying that, yes, this occurred to me in the 80s, and then you had some other girls coming out and women saying, this occurred to me in the 90s.
Right.
And I was in that age range too, then I would lend that a lot more credence. But there is now a new element in the mix in which I think will help to either further the accusations or tend to shoot a big hole in them. Apparently he signed a yearbook of a kid, and there's his signature. Well, you could take that, and I think the attorney for Moore has said, give us the yearbook. We're going to take it to a neutral party, examine
Handwriting
it,
analysis.
and find if this signature actually is a match, and we can take it to somebody else. And now you actually have evidence.
Well, so, and I've seen early reports that there was issues there was a restaurant that was written about in the yearbook that was spelled wrong, and apparently Moore visited all the time, that his signature was not accurate to what he normally signs. Now, I don't know if what he signs now is the same as what he signed in the 70s. I don't know. But I've already seen that there's some discrepancies there. There's a lot
But go there. Let the evidence take you where it goes. That's fine. Like I say, I have no dog in this hunt at all.
Right, but here's the thing with Moore.
Let it go wherever it goes.
If Roy Moore engaged in sexual relations with a 14-year-old, fuck him. Right?
Exactly.
I don't think anybody here is. I don't think anybody here is saying
with a hot spiked poker.
Right.
He should be cast to the weeds.
I don't think anybody here is defending this man.
No.
But
where's due process?
Correct. I agree with BZ in that the timing on this is very, very interesting, and we have a cluster of victims from one particular time period. Potentially, I'm calling 4 or 5 a cluster because I think that's what it's up to. But like BZ said, where's the pattern of behavior outside of this a few year period or whatever, where he all of a sudden decides he likes 14 to 16-year-old girls? Where is the continued pattern of behavior? Because predatory behavior like that tends to continue. It doesn't just happen one time and stop. Predators, by their very nature,
Opportunistic.
Right, and it's not just a one-time thing.
Very rarely.
So, and again, the timing of this, you have a Senate that's perilously close.
Right. So now let's cross
Right?
into the politics of this.
So and I think it kind of goes hand in hand with the timing, right? Is it possible that it's just bad timing? Well, of course it's possible it's just bad timing, and that these are legitimate charges. But if I was investigating this, I would definitely have to look at, like BZ said, where's the pattern of behavior? Number 2, the timing of this. And number 3, isn't one of the victims like somebody who we used to work for the Clintons?
Yes, there's an alignment.
So
there.
they're
aligned to the
original
to the
the original
Democrats.
victim's stepson's coming out saying that it's bunk and it never happened.
So a few now the political side of this. Look, you have a Senate race that, you have a Senate seat that every single seat in the Senate counts.
Yes.
For both sides right now.
Yes.
Every single seat counts.
And you have a party.
You have and the Republicans are fleeing him. And
Mitch McConnell came out about 35 seconds following the revelations, and essentially was one of the first to say, "Get out."
Right. Paul Ryan's come out and said
that
it.
makes my spidey sense go off too.
Paul Ryan said it. A bunch of other people have said it because allegedly, and I don't know him all that well prior to this incident coming up, but allegedly he's a very anti-establishment Republican. In other words, he doesn't follow suit. He doesn't do what they want. So now you have two parties to look at, right? Look. We both know both parties have done some shady-ass shit to people within their own parties or other parties. Look at Bernie Sanders.
Yes.
You look at Bernie Sanders. Look at what Hillary did.
The DNC did to him.
Absolutely. Now, you also, for me too, once Gloria Allred's name shows up, I immediately question circumstances because she is a shyster. We've seen her be a shyster before.
And her daughter
is... Yeah, her daughter's already been caught being a shyster time and again.
Crap.
So you start looking at the optics of this from a political standpoint. Again, not an investigatory standpoint, a political standpoint.
Yeah.
You have major votes coming up. You have a House, Senate, like you said, that is just on the verge one way or the other.
So why, if you're a Republican, why would you want him to pull out? Why would you want to give that to the Dem? So first of all, the Dem,
because he's a Trump Republican,
and look what all the established hacks have wanted to do since November 8th.
Yeah,
but they still have things to accomplish, right? There's still things that Trump can accomplish. So what do the Republicans gain, even establishment Republicans, by getting a Democrat in there?
You're talking. What do they gain? You're coming in from the point of view like the Republicans want to gain or lose anything from a bill standpoint, right? Being able to pass and approve bills.
Right, yes.
Right. That's what I mean. You're talking about a group of people who we've talked time and again on the show only care about keeping their phony baloney jobs, gentlemen. Right?
Yeah.
All they're doing is getting reelected. They haven't done the only shit that they've done is the shit that's been forced down their throat
by Trump,
or has been a no-brainer. There's still a do-nothing Congress.
Well, and today's an excellent example. You made the point of who is this guy Roy Moore and who was his opponent. His opponent was Luther Strange, and
yeah,
he's a weird dude anyway, if you ever looked at this guy.
Last name helps.
Yes. So Luther Strange is an established hack.
Yes.
And Roy Moore is not.
Right.
So I grok the concept
about
the established hacks in D.C. wanting to shoot this guy down in flames.
And Roy Moore has been killing him in the polls. Like I said, all of this
not
came
now. RNC won't fund him.
Now he's starting to go down.
Right.
And
now he's starting to go down.
They killed his cash.
They killed his cash and they killed his ground game.
Yep. Right. And so politically,
that's a wrap.
But you also have to look at the Dems, right? You look at, first of all, it's the same group of people who, when Clinton was alleged by, 17 different women so far to have had some sort of inappropriate contact with them, were jumping on swords for him, talking about how essentially all of these women were absolutely horrible women, and they're all liars for the most part, and this never happened, blah, 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 blah,
But
blah.
he was an establishment guy.
But he was an establishment guy. But you also have the Dems who, anytime, look at, has the Dems ever come out and stood against Weiner? No. Has the Dems come out and said, Huma, we know that she was passing illegal information over a computer. Has anything been said about that?
Nope.
Any Democrat, Menendez in New Jersey, Mendez, have you heard anything from them about him? Nope. You hear what a stand-up guy he was.
Crickets.
He's about to get destroyed.
So,
right?
So from a strategic point of view, is that smart for the Democrats and not so smart for the Republicans?
So the Democrats are desperate.
If the Republicans come out and somebody has an allegation like this, the Republicans are pretty quick to freaking you're done.
And they did.
For the most part, right? Even not with Moore, just in general.
No, and if you're an establishment
but
guy,
if you're a Democrat, that's not the case.
Right.
They will go to the mat. They will go to the mat for you.
And they have time and again.
Hell yeah, they have.
And
you know, I was talking about
what's
trends.
the better strategy?
I was talking about trends, and here's a trend. I asked the question, it's the first question that I would ask in an investigation. Okay, we know that historically these allegations exist 38 years ago, but people that have tendencies in this nature don't arbitrarily stop.
Usually.
Here's a perfect example. Here's William Jefferson Clinton with his cold hands
all over
on the bare skin of this little chickie.
Yep.
This is another person or two people
Look at
who
Biden.
are remarkably similar, aren't they, to Jennifer Flowers during
Yes.
that time? And the answer is yes. So does this fuckface stop what he's doing? No.
Never.
He's just not being caught.
Right.
Or if he's copulating with women, they've decided, well, it's just Bill, and
But he's
he may be paying
no,
for it too.
People have come out and made the accusations. It's never gone anywhere. Look, the 21 Bodies of Hillary Clinton that our friend Tammy Jackson wrote, that's expanded since then, right? One of those girls was a Starbucks employee who allegedly was going to come out that she had inappropriate contact with Clinton at the White House at an event. And all of a sudden, the Starbucks was robbed. She was killed during the robbery with 2 shots to the back of the head, and the door was locked on the inside. No money was taken. D.C. police robbery, homicide. That's all this was. Have a nice day. So people did make allegations. You look at Jennifer Flowers. They came out and said, hey, this happened to me, and everyone went, nope, sorry, it didn't happen. The news media, NBC, MSN, all these media maggots who were destroying these women, who now all of a sudden, all they can do is put them in front of a camera.
I have to tell you this.
But wait, before we go, I just want to bring up Biden. And I know.
Oh my God, get out of my head again.
I know everybody, a lot of people are like, oh, it's just Joe. I have 3 separate videos
tomorrow about that.
I have 3 separate videos that I've watched in the last 24 hours that show Biden's hands all over women. And now you could say, oh, it's just Joe, but that line's not there anymore, right? You can't do that.
You can. He's still Joe.
Right. But
it's just Joe.
So Joe's maybe a snuggly guy, right? He does the little forehead thing to people. He likes to give them a kiss. He's a touchy-feely guy. But does that make it right? You look at some of the pictures of these women who he's touching, they're clearly uncomfortable. There's a picture of his hand on a woman's breast at a swearing-in ceremony, grabbing her on the arm, but his right hand's up on her chest. Now, you could say, well, he wouldn't be stupid enough to do it in public, but when you've been a senator for 30 years and then you're vice president and everything's always been swept under the carpet.
Or if you're just freaking batshit crazy, you
Why
don't realize where
wouldn't
your
you?
hands are.
And I'm
Either
not,
one.
I know
Look, I've used that line before.
I know nobody's made allegations against Biden, but there's photographic evidence that he's just as handsy.
I found a video that I'm going to be, and I'm bigfooting myself. What the hell? I found a video, a compilation of incident after incident on tape and video. Incident after incident after incident of Joe Biden doing that, getting side tit in public.
Like it was nothing.
And the whole thing up to this point has been, it's just
Joe.
That's just what he does.
But it was also just Bill, right? That was just Bill when he was in office. It's just Bill. Hey, that was just JFK. That was just what he did. Well, the standards have changed, right? So now we're judging all these people by a modern day eye, even if they're alive or dead. We're judging them by today's standards. So if you're going to do that, and you're the Democrats specifically who are absolutely going at it more tooth and nail, then why aren't you judging these other people? Why aren't you coming out and saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, Bill Clinton was a maggot. And everybody knew he was a maggot.
Because the Clintons are so powerful
Exactly.
within
That's
the
the
party.
problem. If Moore's last name was Clinton, none of this would have come up. You know why? Because when Clinton was running for anything, all these allegations came out when he was a governor, when he started running for president. They all came out and they were all squashed. We've seen it with other prominent Democrats. Look, everybody knew Weiner was a pervert for
It's
years.
in the name.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in the name. Like Strange.
Good God, people, couldn't you see that?
But even before the name, right? Everybody talked. You read through, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, no, he was doing weird shit back in the day." But because he was connected, and Huma was connected.
Does that mean Huma's a freak?
Yeah.
Like right? Because
No, I think that was a marriage of convenience.
No, she's a freak.
I think
I'm tending to kind of move.
No, I think that was a marriage.
I'm gravitating toward Clint right now.
Yeah, you look at her background and her family background and how they wanted to escort her through political power.
That's cool, but I still think she's a little
gets
freaky.
the opportunity to get her freak on and
Not with Weiner.
and not tell anyone.
Not anymore.
Not with Weiner.
Not anymore.
But if you showed, all right, so if you told me,
I'd go so far as to say she may have gotten her freak on with good old Hill.
I don't.
And Bill at the same time.
I would like to think that she has a little bit more taste
Maybe.
than that.
Well,
Now,
look who
if you
she
said,
married.
if you said like she had regular visits with like the Florida Panthers or another NHL hockey team or something, I'd be like, oh, I don't know, why not, right? I've always said I think the Weiner marriage was a marriage of convenience. It was going to be a throwaway marriage. Once she got to the point that she wanted to be, her family always had big political aspirations. They were connected over in the Middle East politically. They were connected to the Clintons politically. Weiner was just the ability to kind of make things look good as she went up the chain. It was an arranged marriage.
Weiner looked good.
Weiner looked good to Huma.
Weiner looked good to her.
Here's an interesting point. Now, the Democrats are actually starting to come around a bit. There was an article that I referenced last night in my show to The Atlantic saying that maybe it really is time to attempt to reconcile some of these things. And are we going to actually bring the Clintons to task in this? Then, this is glorious. I happened to be watching Tucker Carlson tonight, and he had on Monica Crowley, who herself has been the victim of sexual harassment. We know that. And she made a case against Bill Clinton from the word go, and how the media just over Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. And then next to her was sitting Geraldo Rivera. What did Geraldo Rivera have to say about the Clintons? Two things. He said, they've paid dearly already for that.
Well,
in terms of...
What did they pay?
In terms of... number one, she didn't win the presidency.
That's not a
Are you
payment.
fucking kidding me? And number two, when Bill kind of shot himself in the foot and said some silly things during the campaign. So as far as Geraldo Rivera, i.e. insert your favorite Democrat leftist fucktard here, they've done their penance. Get off Bill and Hill.
Well, that's the problem is Bill can't get off anyone else. And look, it's been going
And Hill
on.
just can't get off. Allegedly. I don't know. I just think that.
But we all know the stories with Bill and the stories with JFK and other prominent politicians. You look at Bill Clinton, you look at Weinstein. You think there's not a connection there? The Lolita Express. You look at all the people that have been running in those circles, that inner circle. You think that there's not a sanctum there where it's all known, it's going on and protected?
The newest thing that was buried is that Bill Clinton went on that particular jet 26 times. That just came out 3 days ago.
He just needed a ride.
So let's get back to Moore. Right?
2 minutes.
Did it happen? I don't know. I don't know if it happened or not.
It may have, but here's the other thing. Well, so much crap has happened in the past year and the past 2 years in terms of the Republicans, the Democrats. The FBI has disabused me of its honesty.
1 minute.
The government has disabused me of its honesty. Shit like this happening, stuff planned, conspiracies, etc., against Bernie Sanders. We're finding all this stuff out about Uranium One. It's disabused me of believing in coincidences.
I agree wholeheartedly. I agree with you.
So
Clint.
I'm dragged
1 minute.
kicking and screaming, asking all these questions where customarily I'd say, well, maybe we really should believe them.
Like I said, I think if you're law enforcement, you have to, and everyone else, you should be waiting to see what the result is. Clint, go.
We're up against a break.
Okay.
You're up when we come back, though.
I am? Ah, damn it. All that and more right here.
That means you're going to have to talk.
When we come back, we're talking about Hillary and Uranus right here on the Sackheads Radio Show.
No, read the segment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hillary, we should examine Uranus. I mean uranium. Damn it.
Damn it.
Back for more on the Sackheads Radio.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch Reaver Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on shrmedia.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reverb Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
Welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. Thank you so much for joining us.
Let's continue with that thought that you were talking about. And I think, though, first, Clint, didn't you want to say something in that thought?
Yeah, because Uranium One's not going to take a half an hour. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't remember what I was going to say.
Really?
Oh,
yeah, really. Like I had a whole like rant going, and starting to get spooled up, and I
deflated.
I lost it. Yeah, totally
stuck
deflated.
a pin in you.
Yeah.
See, here's the other thing that I mentioned
Wait,
last
it's my
night.
turn.
The
You just said I
Kawiki
could
Dink.
talk.
Oh yeah. Here's the thing last night about the
Okay, there we go. So here's what I'm thinking, and I said this before we went to break. If I have to run all this shit, I'm talking. Before I went to break, and just as we were coming back, here's what I said in regards to this. I never want to discount a victim.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, once they are no longer victims, we have to remember that they could be potential liars. And I'm not saying that they're not victims, but there needs to be identity after the fact. So if these people are coming out and it's proven that they've done it, he should be prosecuted if the law allows. He certainly should not be allowed to run. He should drop out, etc.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with all of that. However, if it's proven that all of these people are liars and somehow have political connections, think Herman Cain. think Herman Cain. Have you ever heard about anything else after Herman Cain dropped out of the race?
Nope.
Not a goddamn thing, right? I can tell you about Herman Cain. Oh, sorry, I didn't turn you back on.
I know. I could tell you about Herman Cain if I had a mic.
But I'm just saying, think Herman Cain for a minute, right? Herman Cain was doing really well in the presidential election. People didn't like Herman Cain because he's super conservative, right? Herman was almost like a diet Trump in a lot of ways. He was kind of unpolished. He was very well spoken. He had his points. He was a businessman. He was doing well. You had all these people come out and make these allegations. He dropped out of the race. You never heard from them again.
Nope.
Yep.
Ever. Nothing ever happened. Research it. Find it.
Yep,
Prove me wrong.
It's true. Baja Trump.
Yeah.
But how do you prove something like that? How does he prove that didn't happen?
That's what I'm saying.
There's
Prove
no
a negative. I accuse you, Sean, of getting in an auto accident in Los Angeles in 1990, and that's when you hit a pedestrian.
Right.
You hit and injured a pedestrian. Now prove me wrong.
Right. Clint?
Right. No, Sean, I accuse you of masturbating right before the show started in the restroom and you came out and wagged it. How do you prove you didn't do that?
Right.
No, Beezy didn't see it because his angle to that
No,
doorway
I
right
can't
there.
see through the wall.
Can't see that, but I could see it based on where you were standing.
But
and you gave me the bullwinkle.
Right. But in both of those, right? But in both of those, let's turn it around. Let's say you were in there and I ran through the door and I started masturbating. Well, now you're a victim of a crime.
Right.
And it's a different story. Same thing if all of a sudden the pedestrian from imaginary auto accident in Los Angeles in the 90s shows up and says, yeah, you know what? He ran me over. I remember the license plate. I remember his face. He had fat fingers. He had a Boston accent. Right? You okay? I might have done it. Right?
Yeah,
but,
I had a license. Here's the police report that I filed at the time.
Right. Here's the hit and run from it.
Right.
And
But now let's turn that around, though, right? Well, 38 years ago, Sackhead Sean was driving and he hit me. Did you file a police report?
Nope.
Well, no. Were you injured? Well, yeah. Did you go to the hospital? Where's your medical records? Oh, I don't have those.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. And again, I'll bring it back to the time that during the time in the 60s, it was not taken seriously a lot of times, right? Unless it was some sort of serious
I think
injury.
sex with a 14-year-old.
But she could have went home. You have to understand, though, right? It was a lot different. A judge in a small county back in those days was a highly revered person.
Yes, but again,
they were the top law of the land. They could do no wrong.
You're right, but that goes back to where's the continued pattern of behavior?
No,
we have one victim.
Okay, but before we get to that point, though, what I'm saying is that girl goes home to her mom and dad and says, "Hey, you know what? Judge Moore touched me, or did X, Y, and Z to me," and they went, "You're lying because if you weren't, you didn't even have to be. You got yourself. No, you're lying because you don't want to get in trouble. Blah 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 blah. Don't ever talk about this again."
Okay, but at this point, then tell a brother, a sibling, and I don't know. Say this, right? Hey, I remember 38 years ago when she came home and she was upset.
Right.
Right.
So that's what but there's evidence there. Right, that's a supporting evidence. It's something to corroborate it on some level.
Yeah, it could be supported, but I think that the different ages of the victims are kind of what's important too, because you have one where it's a potential 14, you have one a 22-year-old that said, "Oh, he asked me out several times, and it just kind of made me feel uncomfortable."
In the allegations.
Well, it made you comfortable, and this one gal, oh well, he grabbed my buttocks one time.
Right.
They're kind of all over. I mean, they're different. Now, I'm not saying he didn't do those things, and is it a sexual harassment issue? Of course it is. And Laura Ingraham actually did a great piece on the Shush Fund through Congress and the whole sexual harassment policy for members.
Oh, and how much money they paid out to keep that shit quiet? Yep.
And so you know, if the sexual harassment thing is really keeping him out of Congress, and I didn't say it that way to downplay it, because it is serious and nobody should be subjected to that. Particularly Sackhead Clint on this show by Sackhead Sean and BZ. But
I would second that.
But nobody should be. So I'm not downplaying when I'm saying this, but what I'm saying is a sexual harassment where somebody grabs somebody's ass is a little bit different than messing around with a 14-year-old.
And like you said, you start talking about the pattern and how it doesn't fit. And again, all of these women may be telling the truth, and if they are, then fuck him with a hot
fuck
poker.
that guy. Absolutely.
I don't care. But you have to allow, and I hate to say it, but even as a political party, you have to allow justice to play itself out legally.
Right.
Because so the statutes of limitations are gone. So if somebody came out right now and said, in Boston 25 years ago, just as I turned 18, I hit him over the head with a brick 15 times, right? and say the statute of limitations were for 5 years, and now they come out and said, oh, wait a minute. No, sorry, we can't prosecute that. Am I still somewhat am I convicted? No. There's nothing there. Nothing happens. And
No, you're just an asshole if it actually happened.
Right. Absolutely. And I go back to Herman Cain, and I'll go back to Herman Cain for the politics side of things time and again. Those, I think it was 6 women, were all over the news until he dropped out, and then you never heard another word about it. And after a year, he was able to come back out of the woodwork, and even now, he's got his own network. He's on TV all the time.
He's
still
back on TV, yes.
And you don't hear from these women. Where are these women protesting these TV networks saying, hey, this guy, none of that.
Yep.
You know, but on the other hand, you still have people who alleged Bill Clinton attacked them and raped them still coming out.
They are staunch to this day.
And have been coming out.
They are strident to this day.
And they meet a pattern. So you have to ask yourself, if Moore did it, he's a scumbag. But until it's proven that he did, we've gotten to a point in society, especially with media, where people have been convicted prior to any sort of legal progress being made.
Look, the court of public opinion has taken place of the actual courtroom
but
in terms of importance.
And what's the root of that?
But it was not applicable to the Clintons. Why?
Well, because they were in power.
Yeah, they're in power.
And they were Democrats.
But I go back.
I go back to how money people.
I go back to how this is directly involved to political correctness, right? And being able to say certain things and not say certain things, and all of a sudden it's okay to say this and not say that, and it's the court of public opinion is driven by the law of political correctness. Once it violates that political correctness, then all of a sudden the court of public opinion condemn you. Listen, we talk about the 60s and what was allowed and what wasn't allowed and what a different world it was. And I brought up for a broad point with Moore, the judge in a small county being the highest.
I see what you did there.
Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. Being the highest person in the land. There's a chance that any girl who came home and said, hey, Judge Moore did X, Y, and Z, the parents would believe the judge before they believe the girl. And it's sad, but it's true. And especially during those times now, because of news, information, and media, if a child ever came home and said, hey, this happened, it would make the headlines. The police department would be all over it. X, Y, and Z would
As they
happen.
should be all over it, the police.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep. But all this stuff goes back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody remember the McMartin child abuse case where down in, I think it was San Bernardino County, children at a daycare were saying the strangest things about the Martins or the McMartins. I don't remember their last name. Like there were crevices and caves and weird things, and all these kids got abused.
Belzaker.
And everyone said, what a bunch of crap.
Right.
These are kids with active imaginations until they found all the stuff that the kids said were true. Now, that having been said, this is another reason that makes me want to disabuse what these women are saying. Do you remember 2 weeks ago, the U.S. Air Force Academy, the superintendent of the United States Air Force Academy came out and gave an excoriating lecture that we will not tolerate racism in the United States Air Force Academy. This shall not stand.
Mm-hmm.
Until 2 days ago,
put a giant blemish on the Air Force Academy.
Yes, except 2 days ago, they found this. A racist message posted outside an Air Force Academy dorm in September was written by one of the alleged victims.
Yes.
The school confirmed yesterday.
Yep. And you do, right? So you look at how social media and all of these different outlets and news outlets have the ability to put
Tawana Brawley.
Right, and people want to get famous. We know that. Look at the movie Jackass back in the 90s, right? Video cameras became big. YouTube was starting to come online, early 2000s, right? So you have these groups of guys who wanted to get famous by almost killing themselves repeatedly. People flocked to the theaters to watch these idiots almost die. There is a set of people in this world who will do anything for fame. They don't care who they lie to. They don't care what they do. BZ, to get back to your point about the McMartin case, we had a similar case in Malden, Massachusetts in the 80s called Fells Acres, where kids were coming home saying that there was a secret room and that there was a clown and all these other things, and everyone said, oh, this is BS. And then all of a sudden, investigation was done, and it was like, it's not BS. Now, since then, there's been questions about the investigatory procedure and all this other stuff, but all three, the mother and the husband and wife, were all convicted. The Emeralds were all convicted and did time for it but it all started with allegations from a young child, and eventually one of those parents said, this doesn't sound right. But there was an investigation done. There was a conviction done. All of these different things were done. Same thing with the McMartin case, right? But then the Air Force Academy, that's just recent. You look at how many people have run for office, even locally, and people have come out and said, oh, he did X, Y, and Z, and then they drop out, their lives are destroyed, and then it comes out and it was like, oh, yeah, that didn't happen. But that story of, oh, that didn't happen, ends up on page 52.
Oh, and Harry Reid lying outright about Mitt Romney. Oh, Mitt Romney did A, B, and C, and everyone went, no, not Mitt Romney. I believe it, and all the Democrats believed it until Harry Reid said, I lied.
I lied straight to everyone's face, right?
And he deserved what he got.
But you look at some of the other things, too, that Harry Reid's been involved with, and you want to talk about lying in order to gain political power. Look at the whole Bundy case. It doesn't matter.
And how did that asshole never get rung up on or impeached?
You look at the Bundy case, though, right? If you go through the whole Bundy Ranch case, it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about when the police got there, whatever. I'm talking about how it all started. It all started because Harry Reid's son was selling solar plant to a Chinese company, and they needed the land that the Bundys used to feed their cattle. And they needed that space. And that's how that all started, because political power was used to try to force them via the BLM off their land. We've seen people in political power, we've seen these Democrats and the Republicans on some level, I'm sure, use their power as a party, as an individual, to further an agenda. And we've also seen the mudslinging the last 8 years has come down to, and the fact that they will stoop to any level, excuse me. Look at all the different allegations about Trump, right? Look at all the allegations that were made about Trump during the, where have all those gone, right?
And if it's a trend, those women would still be here. There would be new women saying those things. And the Democrats point to that, and what that was, Trump being blustery and talking out of school to a guy, a hail
locker
fellow,
room talk.
well-met,
right.
Locker room talk.
Yep.
So if that crap happened, don't you think all those women, if it occurred, would have said, abso-fucking-lutely correct,
but there was
he's
also,
a pervert.
But there was also another, I think there was one woman who came out and tried to make an allegation that Trump sexually assaulted her early on. And maybe I'm wrong. Correct me if I am. But what happened after the grab him by the pussy comment is you had all these women who've worked with Trump over the years come out and been like, yeah, I've been with this guy alone for 18 hours working on a project, and he's never done anything but be professional with me. I forget her name, but the woman who was one of his admin assistants said, hey, I was dealing with drug abuse, all these other things. He never once tried to take advantage of me when he very easily could have. As a matter of fact, he paid for my rehab. He took care of my family. He's a really good... Where are those people to counteract the Bill Clintons, right? I don't see any prominent woman ever come out and be like, hey, yeah, you know what? I worked with Bill one. Everybody was like, oh, it was just Bill. Same thing with Joe. Oh, it's just Joe. There's been no overwhelming save for those people. Look at...
And where are the reports coming back with people saying, no, Trump did these things for me. Trump was a really good person.
Right.
Which I believe him to be.
But where do the people who made allegations go? All of a sudden they're gone right now because they're not useful to the media. They're not, because that's not the fight they're having, right? He's already elected, so you have to have the fight of Twitter wars and all this other shit. And it's just amazing to me how the media and the parties will sling these poor people around. And I say poor people because they think they're doing... I really are convinced in their heads, like, this is the right thing to do. And they're not. They're just being used by these parties to gain their whatever prominence is needed at that moment.
Here's what I would submit. Because I have been forced, due to circumstances, into considering that this stuff all stinks. Mm-hmm. That it has a reeking odor that really displeases me. But I've been dragged kicking and screaming into having to think those kinds of things. Two things, in retrospect, will either confirm or deny what is occurring with Moore. Number one, if you can give up the yearbook and we'll have a handwriting analysis, and the attorney for one of the women that has the handbook has said no. Mm-hmm. Okay, number one, why? Then, number two, like you said, the other aspect is whatever happens, what will occur with these women 6 months from now?
Right.
A year from now?
Right.
Where will be the lawsuits? Because one thing we already know, if there are lawsuits, and especially if these women win, then the Democrats will cover that like crazy.
Yep.
It will be
flies
obvious.
on horse shit.
And the final thing is with Mueller, because the Democrats want everything to be this particular way.
Mm-hmm.
Why haven't we heard anything about Russian collusion? Because Mueller leaks.
Like crazy.
We found out Mueller leaks.
Like a diaper.
And if it was there, don't you suspect some of that stuff would come out too?
You would think so.
You'll find out later whether or not this is correct. But I can't help. I've been slapped into thinking, I really question this.
I agree. There's definitely it automatically
and
brings
we
up
need
questions.
Due process.
I agree. We need due process as well. Let's move on to Uranium One a little bit. So, long story short, the Democrats are saying, "Oh, even though the State Department approved it, it wasn't Hillary approved it. It was a board." Yeah, because she wouldn't have influence over that board of people that made that decision.
Over the 9
that worked directly for
Obama panels.
Right. Just like Obama didn't have any influence over the Department of Justice. Just like, don't give me that shit. Let's throw that right out the door right now. I forget the exact millions, but I'm going to kind of roll through it by memory. 140 total to the Clinton Foundation.
Yeah.
90 million came from the board of the Uranium One company. The board. Now, Uranium One started as 2 other companies, and they kept buying them out. And then the Russians eventually came with it. Everyone knows Uranium One's the nuclear arm of the Russian government, and they're the mining company for the Russian government for uranium and other nuclear-needed materials. Mm-hmm. The board donated directly to the Clinton Foundation prior to the deal to give 10 to 20% of our uranium to the Russians. $90 million from the board. 3 of the CEOs counted for another $30 million, and then there was somebody else thrown in there for $20 million. I believe that equals $140. You cannot tell me, for the life of me, that there is a coincidence here. It just, you can't tell me that there's a coincidence. You know, we hear about foreign agents and all the other stuff going on with Ukraine and Popovich and all the Papadopoulos and all these other guys. Okay, if they did it, they're wrong. Let's go to jail. But you can't say that a special counsel should not be selected to find out if then acting Secretary of State Clinton, the woman who we know fucked with her emails. They've hid things. They sent them where they weren't supposed to.
It all stinks. It all stinks. It all stinks.
Look, if I walk you into a room with a blindfold on and it smells like smoke and it's really, really hot, do you need to see the fire? Or are you going to guess that there's probably a fire in the room?
Let me be Machiavellian and throw this into the mix
God
now.
Damn it. Okay.
Jeff Sessions now finally, after Jim, I can't think of his last name, Abbott, he's a congressman. Yesterday, he and another guy wrote an editorial piece and said, hey, Jeff Sessions, time for a special counsel. Mm-hmm. And here's why. And they went bullet point, tons of bullet points as to get your ass in gear. Now what's being postulated is this. Roy Moore goes away. Someone says to Jeff Sessions, and how many birds would be served by this, if Jeff Sessions
you want to resign and run for
goes
Senate?
Back to the Senate, leaves an AG spot open, which then gets filled.
By Moore.
Because I have no... let me ask you, Clint, how much confidence do you have in Jeff Sessions as AG?
So my answer may surprise you. I don't have enough evidence of Jeff Sessions as an AG to either have faith in him or to not have faith in him. He hasn't done anything to...
No, you can leave that there. He hasn't done anything.
No, he hasn't, but here's the thing. Jeff Sessions, I liked Jeff Sessions.
He's a likable guy.
He's a likable guy, and he was a supporter. And I don't think Jeff Sessions is the kind of guy to. He's never given me any reason to really say, yeah, this is bullshit. I mean, look, Jeff Sessions. There are investigations underway. We know that.
Yes.
27.
And it's very possible that Jeff Sessions is doing exactly what an attorney general should do and not fucking commenting on the existence or status of an investigation.
I do agree there.
And so I can't say that he has done nothing because I don't know. Was his decision, which was the appointment of a special counsel, Mueller, the best decision? Probably not. Do I think that a special counsel is needed for Uranium One? I don't know. And here's why I say I don't know. I'm not saying I don't think it should be investigated, because I absolutely think it should be investigated. But I think the Justice Department is capable of investigating this.
I do not.
There is enough information
as far
there.
as I can
Hang
throw
on a
this
second.
studio.
You got to talk. Let me talk. There's enough information there to convene a grand jury. And you can't tell me that there is not any prosecutor at the Justice Department that is capable of convening a grand jury and getting the information that is needed to investigate this Uranium One deal without any kind of conflict of interest. It's not like Jeff Sessions himself or herself has to do this. You find a competent prosecutor, of which I guarantee you can find a high-level competent prosecutor, and have them convene a grand jury and begin looking into this and go where the evidence takes you. You don't need a special look. You have a special counsel appointed, and now you're going to be looking down the rabbit hole again. And where have special prosecutors got us? Ever in the history of special prosecutors in the United States? Ever. Zero. So why the fuck would you want to convene one now to look into something as serious as this? Hang on a second. So,
Sean?
So my answer is, I don't know that you necessarily need a special prosecutor. I think that there's a case to be made both sides, and should Jeff Sessions be gone? I can't answer that either, because it could be the man is acting 100% appropriately by not commenting on any of this stuff.
Well,
did you watch him testify yesterday?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Did you? Mm-hmm. He equivocated like crazy, and he conveniently can't remember crap.
He shouldn't have been there. Here's the thing.
Well,
I think it was bullshit that he was brought back again.
I agree. Now, here's the deal. He was brought back for the yearly review from that Judiciary Committee.
Right.
They take all the persons, including the AG.
I understand that.
Once per year, and now whether that was the aegis under which they did that,
it was.
And then they threw these other aspects in. I suspect that's what
happened.
It
was bullshit. But the Democrats are, what did you know about Trump and Russia, and the Republicans are special counsel.
And what do you think? When you start asking him questions about, are you going to enforce certain things because it was a political promise made by the president and you work for the president, that's all bullshit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that him conveniently not remembering was his way of saying, fuck you.
I agree.
Just did this.
Well,
I agree.
Just did this.
I agree.
Now, my thought on special counsel and prosecutors before we go to break. I agree with you that the DOJ should be trusted to do the investigation.
Yes, fundamentally, you bet.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think that there should be a grand jury convened. I think that we should have the trust in the DOJ to do it.
Yep.
And I think, in my heart of hearts, that should be the way it's done. I also think that you should not have to be getting a special counsel every single time something pops up. Now, I understand.
What the fuck do we have
I
DOJ
understand
for?
the political punt on this, right? Because nobody in the Trump administration, I don't think, wants to be directly involved, i.e. the DOJ, with the conviction of Hillary Clinton, because it's going to be played out in the media as purely political, nothing else involved, right? So how do you get both accomplished? Well, go ahead. You and the big nose, go.
No, I was raising my hand to say, hey, I have a response to that. So my response is this. Everything has potential political consequences nowadays.
I agree.
And so the DOJ will cease to exist. And if that's the case, then fine. But the DOJ will cease to exist.
Yeah, I won't cry.
Right. They'll cease to exist if they can't investigate anything. I don't give a shit if they're investigating Hillary. I don't give a shit if they're investigating other Republicans. They should be. They should be investigating whoever it is. So I really have an issue with the political punt, and this is why I said, am I calling for a special prosecutor? No, because it's DOJ's job, and they need to be able to doing their job. And if a federal prosecutor gets pressure from Jeff Sessions or from President Trump to stop looking at or they're directing the investigation, then that needs to be investigated.
I agree. And my final thought on that really quick before we go to break, the long and short of it is, if the Department of Justice cannot be trusted, like you said, then maybe they shouldn't exist.
Yeah,
maybe the U.S. Attorney's Office goes and works by themselves, which, as far as prosecution and stuff like that, I'm almost okay with it, because now you have a separation a little bit where it's like, hey, this is the case we present you. Okay, we're getting this with clear eyes. We're not getting this because our U.S. Attorney General was working with those FBI investigators for 19 months.
I actually have a solution.
Napalm?
No, because I would never threaten the government. I actually have a solution.
He was talking about the idea. Napalm,
right,
the idea.
Napalm the idea.
Right.
I just had an idea.
Nicely done.
I'm going to break. No,
nicely done.
How did you get the fucking light? Bullshit.
Yeah.
Go ahead, man.
He needs to pull the mic out and then drop it.
And walk away.
I just had an idea. So, constitutional amendment, make the Attorney General an elected position on a nationwide election.
I'm okay with that. Totally okay with that. Folks, we're up against dude, you know what? Repeal the 19th and add that on.
Yeah.
We're up against a break. When we come back, Trump wraps up his tour in Asia. And we'll get right to the end of the show right here on the Sack Heads Radio Show. Live on the...
Big Asia!
Did you... One more time, please, before we go to break. This is ridiculous. We'll be back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Beware, the Jersey Takeover is here. Every Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you can catch River Common Sense Show hosted by Jersey Joe, right here on SHR.com. Only Jersey can deliver hell like no one else. So consider this your fair warning.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Power brokers use corrupt politicians, deceptive Islam, and lies from establishment media to turn the once shining city on a hill into the city of the blind. What do the elites fear? One man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me at SHR Media, High Plains Talk Radio, Spreaker, iTunes, and YouTube for a different kind of commentary on the unpleasant blind guy. Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires, due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network, to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
This is Jersey Joe, host of the Reverb Common Sense, and you're listening to SHRmedia.com.
Welcome back to the Sackheads Radio Show live.
It's headbanging music.
Hell yeah, it is.
Oh, Belvedere, come here, boy.
Ooh, boy.
Where
Rochester.
the white women at?
Hey, where are the white women at?
Where's Ken when you need him?
Boys, look at what I have here. Hey, where are the white women at? Cleveland Little was an absolute genius.
Oh,
that movie
boy.
was brilliant.
He was.
Of course, Blazing Saddles, the amazing Mel Brooks film. So
Make that movie today.
Yeah.
we've talked about it. We'd have to make it in total reverse.
Yeah.
You know what movie,
NGH.
you know what movie I want to make today? Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh, hell yeah. I would love to.
Well, the cars would be a hell of a lot better.
Yes. Hey, boy,
Put a
where's Sheriff
put a
Jones
Hellcat. Put a Hellcat in there instead of the Trans Am.
no, ooh,
at? Ooh.
ooh. Okay. I
Yeah.
can't even argue
You
that.
got
I
my
get-
attention
I
on
get
that one right now.
nothing.
Yeah.
I get nothing on
Put
that.
Optimus Prime in there in place of Jerry Lee.
But you have to. So you'd have to run through like actors that could pull off. So part of the brilliance of Smokey and the Bandit was
The
cast.
the
right?
casting.
The cast
Absolutely.
was amazing.
Absolutely. And Sally Field, how hot was she back
Oh my
in the
God!
day?
But you look at Burt Reynolds,
Burt Reynolds,
Jackie
Jackie
Gleason.
Gleason. Jackie Gleason
Holy
made the
Perfect.
entire movie.
Absolutely perfect.
By the way, my 9-year-old kicked his 8-year-old brother in the ass and said, "That's an attention getter."
It is an attention getter. But that is, that's a great movie. But I'd just be afraid it would be destroyed today, right? Because all the political correctness that would get thrown into it.
Oh.
The Sheriff Jones part would not be in there at all.
Oh, bullshit. Look, there's a reason why that movie is still played on the movie channels
Oh my
and
God.
still sells and everything else. And it's because it is fucking hilarious.
You sounded taller on radio.
You sounded what the hell is this world coming to? I mean, come on.
Give me a Diablo sandwich and a Dr. Pepper.
And make it fast. I'm in a
damn
goddamn hurry. You want something? Hush
Excuse
puppies,
me.
Daddy. We ain't got time for that.
Excuse me, Sheriff. Nice ass.
No, my favorite.
There's no way, no way that you came from my loins.
Put the evidence in the car.
But Daddy, I put the
Put the
evidence in the car. First thing I'm going to do when I get home is punch your mama in the mouth.
You did that on purpose. I'm going to barbecue your ass in molasses.
My handle's Smokey Bear, and I'm ass grabbing you right now.
Oh, shit. Who are you chasing? Somebody chasing you? Ain't nobody chasing me, boy.
Goddamn maniac.
We're watching this after the show tonight.
We don't need to. We just lived the whole movie right now.
Oh, my
And
God.
don't go home. And
I
don't
just-
go to dinner.
I just
And
love
Don't
your
play with
yourself.
yourself.
I
It
just
would
love
look
your
good.
suits. I'd like to get a 68 extra fat myself.
Oh, Sheriff, the letters FO mean anything to
Bonsai! I saw that, you some bitch. You did that on purpose. Such an amazing movie.
you? It is.
Oh, God. It was so many great lines.
Oh, God.
You look
Happens
tired,
every
son.
time.
Rest yourself. You punks look
tuckered
tuckered
out,
out, too.
Hold up on that car wash there, gentlemen.
Ban One. Banone. Such a great movie.
And
Any
that's
guy
just
that'd
pure-
paint this truck like this would show up at a wedding with feathers.
Was that part one or part two? That's part two, I think.
I don't know.
No, I'm almost
just-
positive that's part two because
That could be.
part one, the truck, it didn't really play a huge role in part one other than
Jerry Lee.
yeah.
And who played Enos?
No. What was his name?
There's Big Enos and Little Enos.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Oh, damn it.
Who played Little Enos.
Oh, I can see him too.
And he was a singer in his day.
Yeah. Oh, damn it. Oh, BZ, fuck you.
I don't remember.
Little round glasses. He had little round glasses.
I know.
John Denver?
No.
Right.
John Lennon?
That would have been amazing.
John Lennon.
John Lennon.
Because Jerry Lee was a country singer.
Right. And
Right.
but it's Jerry.
Eastbound and Down. Springer.
Right.
He also was in The Waterboy as the opposing team coach, the bad guy, in later years.
Oh, wow.
Not that mattered, but
Paul Williams.
That was it. Paul Williams. Big Enos and Little Enos. Oh, man. Hey,
Those were
Sheriff.
the days.
We're going to Boston for some chowder. We'll see you later.
That's some bitch.
But, Daddy, my hat flew off. You knock your goddamn head off.
Look, Daddy, a football game. Can we watch?
You watch. I'm going to go. She wasn't walking up that aisle. She was dancing up that aisle. Yeah. Little ass going. No, knockers bouncing everywhere.
Her ass was going too.
Her ass was wiggling too. He was.
Happens every time those dancers come poontanging around.
But so now make that movie today.
Oh yeah.
Can't do it.
My authority, and that's just pure communism.
Pure old-fashioned communism. Yeah. Shut up, Junior.
No one makes Sheriff Buford T. Justice look like a possum's pecker.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Okay, I'm out.
Oh, God.
I'm out. I give.
Oh, man, that was just awesome.
Why do you call me Frog? Because I want to jump you. Oh, shit.
What's
Okay.
she got on now? Trump in Asia. Let's go.
Oh, geez. All right. So, first of all, did you hear about these UCLA basketball players?
Uh-huh.
These three jackasses?
Yeah, doing something really stupid in China.
You shoplift in China.
That's like shoplifting in Indonesia.
That's a problem.
I've heard they were shoplifting. What's the worst that could happen? A book written by you. I heard that's what they were shoplifting.
No, they read that.
Right.
Yeah.
Stealing a poster in North Korea.
You're shoplifting in communist China.
What's the worst
You
that could
fucking dumbass.
You go to a college.
You go to college. Yes, but it's college in California. They believe communism is good.
Right.
And so these fucking jackasses go to at a Louis Vuitton store. Right? Well, nobody's going to catch us.
It's a Louis Vuitton, yeah.
If I could fist bump you from here, I would.
Fist him, BZ. Fist him.
Yeah, fist me.
Fist him.
Wait.
Pound him. Fist him hard. Look, so they get caught. They get arrested. And President Trump, the racist bastard.
Oh, he's a bigot.
The racist, fascist bastard.
Just let him hang. That's what he said, right?
That's what he said. No, he actually went to the Chinese president personally and asked him to work it out, asked him to intervene. And he did.
Amazing.
And these three college students, they had to have been white in order for Trump to help him.
Right.
And Trump probably talked down to the Chinese president in a very disrespectful manner because he's not white.
Right.
And so they were released. They didn't get to travel back with their team, but they were released.
Well, they kind of lost that privilege.
Right. But what I'm saying is they weren't held. They were facing 10 years or something like that?
10 years
for shoplifting
in China.
It
wasn't like they were going to blend into the crowd.
And here's the thing that really pissed me off. These fucking punks. I'm going to call them punks because
I think
first of all, they disrespected our country and their school by acting like that.
Yeah, thank you.
Right, and their sport. And number two, after their release, when they come back, they were silent for 1 or 2 days without saying fucking thank you.
Oh yeah, and
to the president of the United States.
And then the tweet came out.
And then Trump good for him. for calling these. You know what? That's almost like a spank.
Yeah.
Right, for these little bastards.
Yep. Learn your lesson, kid.
And then what happened?
And then they all three came out, and somebody fucking wrote this shit for them.
Yep.
Because they said, we want to thank the United States government and the President of the United States, President Trump, for helping us.
Yeah. Oh, no, it was totally scripted. There's
Every
no
single
doubt.
one of them.
No
the
doubt.
United States government and President Donald Trump.
I want to look at the beginning of that trip. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut off the fact that these guys were idiots.
Yeah.
But I want to look at the beginning of that trip. And you want to talk about international relations and just optics between the last president.
Oh, wait, are we moving on from the jackasses onto the real story?
No, because this kind of dovetails into how
we can. I was just bitching.
No,
for a
I just
second.
think this dovetails into how he has a good relationship with the Chinese president. There's a picture side by side of when Obama went to China and when Trump went to China. When Obama came off of Air Force One, there was just the official greeting committee of the Chinese government there, right? You had the president, a couple other people. That was it. Mm-hmm. When Trump came off Air Force One,
the Chinese president was blowing him or something, right?
Essentially, there was lines of children, fanfare,
they weren't doing that,
music. They were shaking American flags and Chinese flags.
Yes,
all of these other things. What does that say? The optics alone. What does that say about the respect that the Chinese government has for the president?
And I think you just said it right there. It's respect.
Yes.
President Trump went to these Asian countries, and he spoke in South Korea. He spoke in Vietnam. Mm-hmm. He spoke in China, and he basically told them to go fuck themselves.
In a nice way.
In a very nice way, that we were putting America first in terms of trade. And he basically said I watched his speech live, and he basically said to the various countries that were represented there, I'm acting in the best interest of my country, just as I would expect each of you to act in the best interest of your country.
But that's the difference.
Right?
That's recognizing that they have to take a stance and asking him to recognize that he needs to take a stance, and now we can communicate.
And I don't even think he was asking him to take it. He was saying, I'm taking this stand just like I would expect this of you. And I think because of that, he has that respect to where he's able to work with and talk with the Chinese president. And now, look, they came out and said, hey, we are working together. Could be bullshit, right? To prevent North Korea from continuing on and collapsing another fucking mountain and releasing radiation to China. Sorry, BZ, go ahead.
Do you guys remember when Air Force One landed in China and there were no stairs?
Yes. I do remember that.
Now, contrast and compare that
to what's going on now.
To what happened with Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
There was a Planikin or whatever with people lifting him.
I want to talk about the speech, though, and one of the things, too, that, and I've been, for the last 3 years, immersed in an Asian culture that I'd never been introduced to before. Being forthcoming and outright is respected and appreciated. Right, playing the political backward games and all this other stuff. That's not. They're a very throw your cards on the table type person. And now
I see what you did there, by the way.
Thank you.
Nobody else listening did.
Who has any idea? But you know what I did.
I see exactly what you did there.
But it's respected, and it says, all right, this is the lines you won't cross. This is the lines I won't cross. This is what we have to work with. Let's go to work. Mm-hmm. And that's what he said to them. Look, I know you have to protect your country's interest. I expect you to. I'm doing the same thing, just like you should expect me to. Mm-hmm. Now that we know that, let's get down to some brass tacks. And I saw his speeches there. I thought that he did exceptional, considering it was his first big international tour, especially to Asia. It's a different type of community.
He was generally very complimentary about each country into which he visited.
Mm-hmm. And he cracked jokes.
Yeah.
He had a good sense of humor about him. Look, with the Japanese president, Abe, standing right there, prime minister, he was like, oh, you get a better tax break if you built the cars in our country. And they all laughed. Everybody laughed.
But
right?
he was serious.
But he was serious, but he laughed as well,
yes.
right? It's that moment of levity where it's like, all right, these guys have a good enough relationship where they can crack some jokes. We talked about it last week. His relationship with Abe, from all reports, is that they are very close personally as well as professionally. They're both very successful. They have similar age, similar family. They have a lot in common, right? So the fact that he's making those personal relationships that you don't hear about with these world leaders, look at the fall of communism. I'm not saying this is going to cause the fall of communism, but the fall of communism. One of the big things is that Reagan and Gorbachev had a mutual respect. Yes, had a mutual respect and generally liked each other overall. They respected each other, but they also liked each other. They had a good communication. They'd go and they'd meet and they'd spend hours just talking about everything else and then get to work. When you are negotiating and working with people that like and respect you, you're going to get a lot further.
And we beat them with energy.
Well, yeah, literally beat them with energy. Threw protons at them.
Well, I think
almost, but that was very 1960s.
It's been proven, I think, time and again that most world leaders, when they meet Trump, they like him and they want to talk to him and they want to do business with him, with one exception.
North Korea.
Because it was...
I want to get to that.
It was so incredible in the body language between these two, Trump and Angela Merkel.
Well, yeah. But I don't think any... So, but here's the other thing that nobody else talks about. If you look at Angela Merkel with any other world leader, it's the same body language. I think she's just an awkward person to be around, and I think that it's very hard to communicate with her.
So if you actually really study, and I know you study people's facial reactions. And
Paul Ekman.
If you really, really study Angela Merkel's reactions to Trump, you could see, and if you pull up the video right now, we're talking. You can probably see exactly what I'm talking about.
You smell something, Rabbit?
If you pull up that video, you can actually see her pupils dilate, her hips relax and open, her jaw kind of relaxes a little bit, in almost like this "take me" kind of way.
I knew it was coming.
So,
I knew that was on the board. So you brought up North Korea. I knew that was coming. I knew it was on its way. As soon as he said relax, I was like, all right, here we go.
Boom, boom.
You talk about North Korea, though. Kim Jong-un issued a death sentence to Trump after he left the Greater Korean area.
Because he wouldn't do it while he's there.
Exactly. and
hang on. How is he gone?
Apparently,
he's gone. I sentence him to die.
It's like Marvin the Martian. I'm going to blow up the world.
I claim this peninsula in the name of North Korea. Isn't that lovely?
Isn't that lovely?
I will put a death ray on you. P-32 space modulator.
So you have the...
Take a look at my disintegrating pistol.
Oh, boy, that disintegrates. When they say that disintegrates, brother, that disintegrates.
It disintegrates. Oh,
but
look, it disintegrated.
So the day after he leaves, and I guess it was cited that part of the charges in order to bring this death sentence upon Donald Trump is that he called him short and fat in a tweet.
But he didn't. He said I didn't call him short and fat.
It doesn't matter at this point.
Right?
The fact that you know it got that petty. Dude, look, people call me short and fat all the time, right? I'm okay with it. I've never wanted to put a death sentence on somebody for that alone.
So how did he know that it called short and fat? Because aren't you not supposed to Twitter in North Korea? So shouldn't whoever found that and showed it to him also be sentenced to death?
Damn good point.
Hell yeah.
Right? Sir, please don't kill me. I know I'm not supposed to have Twitter, but look what the President Trump just said.
Listen, Mr. Un. So funny story. I caught somebody who was trying to subject the country to the ways of the West, and they had a phone, and it was open to Twitter, and I saw this tweet. Yeah, that's my family in the background. Why?
In the background.
What do you mean call the artillery guys? What do we need them for today?
Oh, my gosh.
By the way, I like your sweatshirt.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was sent out to me, so I appreciated that.
Nice.
Yeah. Hey, it's nice to have friends in low places. That's all I'm saying. No. But yeah, he goes over there, wins everyone else over, comes back with. And
now China's like, yeah, fuck North Korea.
If I was Trump, I would be touting this death sentence nonstop. I'd honestly
land in North Korea and dare them to come get me.
Yeah.
Wow.
In a 172 Cessna.
Gauntlet
one pilot.
Hurled.
Yeah. We'll just do a touch and go and see what happens.
I'd be like, hey, Air Force One, we're coming in to land in North Korea, and if you fuckers launch, it's going to be a really bad day for you.
Now, and by the way, Air Force One's any plane I'm on, and it's a Cessna 172.
Yes.
with a picture of me on the front.
And it's and you know what? Just to fuck with the Navy, like I'd jump in a Navy aircraft and make them call it Air Force One.
Any plane he's on.
If I was president that's right. of the United States. Any plane he's on, whether it's a Cessna 172.
Does not matter. Does not matter. Piper Cub, Air Force One. Wait, what?
Coming in an F-18 and make that Navy pilot say Air Force One coming in for a landing.
Oh no, I think you do some small podunk field in the middle of like Nebraska that has like one tower operator and they're open from 9 to 5. Like Poughkeepsie Tower. This is Air Force One. Clear to land. Runway 23 left. Well, I'm sorry. It's Tuesday morning. It's a 1,500-foot runway.
And I haven't even had my coffee.
We don't have this.
I'm radio operator. Like I'm not even supposed to be here. Like Chuck is late.
I haven't landed a plane in 6 years. He's in the toilet. Fly the field. We'll get back to you.
This is why I like doing this show.
So does that mean any helicopter is Marine One?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
I'd go on a sightseeing tour in Hawaii.
Dude, I just can't get the image of the poor guy in the tower. just like, maybe I'll get 4, 5, 6 planes today. Nothing big going on. Air Force One.
What?
I quit. Son of a bitch. So I think overall he gets high marks for this Asian tour. I think that he did a very, very good job of representing the nation. Seeing how it was his first Asian tour is really his biggest trip as president so far. In a part of the region that everyone always talks about the Middle East with being tumultuous and full of turmoil. The reality of the situation is China, that whole Asian continent is on the verge in some ways, right? You have the biggest nuclear threat in the world right now, actively, in North Korea. Mm-hmm. We can argue about their ability, whatever, but as far as the ability to use them and the psychopathic behavior to want to use them, look, he landed 100 miles away, if that.
And they didn't do shit.
But he went, right?
Well, he was en route to DMV.
DMZ.
Or, excuse
I don't know, maybe he didn't renew his license.
Well, he could have been en route to DMV.
Can I get a South Korean driver's license?
You have to wait your turn.
That'd be even better if he did go to the DMV. It brings me right back to the airport operator, right?
Calling number 759.
And just after he left, you had a North Korean soldier defect right through.
Yes.
Yeah. Got shot twice.
Got shot twice by the North Koreans.
But he
and
lived,
those bastards and the South Korean let him die. Oh, no, wait. They medevaced him to a hospital, and now they're treating him.
Okay, hang on.
He went right through the Freedom House.
South Korea. You don't have a hair on your ass if you don't send North Korea a fucking medical bill for his treatment.
I like that a lot.
Even better, you turn it into a paper airplane and have one of your sentries at the DMZ just give that to your boss, would you?
No, I'd send it. I'd mail it.
Oh.
Registered mail, so they have to sign.
Yep. I would.
What is this, mail?
Bill.
It's a
I'm in
fucking
corrections.
bill. It's a fucking bill. We don't have enough to pay.
Then you get a nasty letter from Experian.
Yeah. We're downgrading your credit from a D to an E. Like, that's never actually been done before. You literally have the worst credit.
Yeah, why do I have a 400 credit score?
400? What the hell is this bill? South Korean hospital? Guys, who went to South Korea again?
How do I owe a credit reporting company money?
We've been charged off. And there was a pseudo coup d'etat that took place in the world this week. In Zimbabwe, it was a gentle coup that's happening in the African country as we speak. Obviously, there's the dictator there. I'm going to screw up his name, Mugambo. And
isn't that the guy from
this is why I hated to even bring this up.
Isn't it from Zoolander,
why I didn't
right?
want, no matter what I said, I was going to be wrong about this one.
That's Mugatu. Never mind.
Damn it. Mugabe. I apologize. Robert Mugabe. The military says that they did it, and they're protecting Mugabe. They're securing the streets through essentially Sharia law. and they're
Oh,
trying
perfect.
to put
What could go
down
wrong?
the criminals. The U.S. citizens have been ordered to evacuate the country, from my understanding, from the consulate there. Some said shelter in place. Some people have said they've been ordered to evacuate ASAP, and it is getting worse. You have yet another dictator-ruled country that is coming to turmoil, in which, look,
Don't forget Venezuela. They're toast.
Venezuela is not making the news, which is even more sad.
Yeah, it's-
because it's in complete and utter disarray.
Yeah, like, yay, socialism.
Right.
Wow.
When we look at recent coups, the only one that I can recall, and it wasn't a coup per se, it was the same type of thing, was in Egypt, where the military stepped in to protect the citizenry against the government, and they actually sided with the citizens. They did not seize power. The military is allegedly in Zimbabwe trying to seize power. They did not seize power. They held everything until elections could be done. However, 99.9% of the time, military coups are normally not a good thing. So that's something to watch in yet another country that's starting to fly off the handle. 1 minute left. Anything?
I had a great time.
I did too.
All right, a good
Got my
time
show
too.
tomorrow night.
Go ahead.
It's going to be me, just nothing but me. No guests, no nothing.
Well, maybe I'll tune in.
And
Are you
then,
all by yourself?
Do you remember Lily
Tang Williams. Yes, of course we remember Lily T. W.
I'm going to get her on the show
Love
because
her.
I want her to talk about communism, socialism,
Yes.
and its true effects as opposed to what all the little leftists today think is going on.
And you can check out her interviews the last 2 years from Freedom Fest on the Freedom Fest channel on SHR Media. Lily Tang Williams is an amazing individual, great
She
story.
is such a great person.
American Dream 101,
Oh, man.
and somebody who appreciates and loves this country more than people that were born and raised here by and large.
Hell yes.
Folks, that's it for the Sackheads Radio Show live on the SHR Media Network. We'll be back next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast. Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and everywhere else. We'll talk to you next week.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America, Sackheads Radio. And listen, there are no people better on the air to give you the best in conservative talk than Sackhead Sean and Sackhead Clint. And we're working on the immigration papers for a certain other guy who happens to work here too. For those who are tuning in around the world to the best in late-night conservative talk, Sackheads Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
Sack News. Sack News.
Radio.
The best late-night conservative talk show in America. In America.
In America.
And in this web was a large, I'm pretty sure it was the biggest spider I've ever seen.